The day Karen from the HOA knocked on my door demanding my Wi-Fi password was the day our war began. She claimed it was for security, but I knew better. My revenge? I renamed my Wi-Fi to NotForKaren911. Her face when she saw it was priceless. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching, also like and subscribe for more stories. It was a sunny Saturday morning when I heard the most annoying sound in the world, my doorbell ringing 5 times in a row. I was still in my pajamas, sipping my first cup of coffee, when I opened the door to find Karen Thompson standing there. She was the head of our neighborhood's homeowners association, and everyone knew to avoid her. "Good morning," I said, trying to be polite even though it was only 8 a.m. on a weekend. Karen didn't bother with pleasantries. She pushed her designer sunglasses up into her perfectly styled blonde hair and crossed her arms. "Your guests parked in the visitor spots again last night," she said, tapping her foot on my welcome mat. "That's the 3rd time this month." I sighed. They were my cousins visiting from out of town. The HOA rules say those spots are for visitors, and they were visitors. Karen's thin lips pressed together. "They stayed past 9 p.m. The noise ordinance." "They left at 9:15, I interrupted. "I checked the time specifically because I know how strict you are about the rules." Karen didn't like that. Her face turned a shade of red that matched her expensive handbag. But then suddenly her expression changed. She peered past me into my apartment. "Is that a new router?" she asked, pointing at my entertainment center where my new Wi-Fi router sat with its little blinking lights. "Yes," I answered, confused by the change in topic. "My old one died last week." Karen smiled, but it wasn't friendly. "Perfect. I need your Wi-Fi password." I almost laughed, thinking she was joking. "Excuse me?" "Your Wi-Fi password," she repeated slowly as if I was a child. "The HOA is doing a security audit of all networks in the community. We need to make sure no one is using unauthorized networks or running illegal downloads that could bring attention to our neighborhood." I had lived in this HOA community for 3 years, and this was the first I'd heard about any security audit. "I don't think that's in the HOA agreement," I said. "My internet is private." Karen's fake smile disappeared. "Actually, Section 12, Paragraph 8 of the HOA agreement states that the board has the right to inspect all utilities for proper usage. Internet is a utility." I was pretty sure she was making that up, but Karen had a way of quoting HOA rules that made you doubt yourself. "I'll have to check my copy of the agreement," I said. "Don't bother. Just give me the password and I'll be on my way. I have 20 more houses to check today." That's when I noticed something strange. Karen was holding her phone in her hand, and it looked like she had some kind of Wi-Fi scanner app open. I could see several network names listed. "Why do you need my password if you're just doing a security audit?" I asked. "Couldn't you just check the network names?" Karen's eye twitched. "The board needs full access. It's protocol." "I'll email the password to the HOA office on Monday," I replied, starting to close my door. Karen stuck her foot in the doorway. "That's not acceptable. I need it now. My daughter is waiting in the car, and her tablet needs internet access for her homework." And there it was, the real reason. Karen's internet was probably down, and she wanted to use mine for her daughter's tablet. I almost felt bad until I remembered all the violation notices she had left on my door for minor infractions like leaving my trash can out an hour too long. "I'm sorry, Karen, but I pay for my own internet. I'm not comfortable sharing my password." Her face turned an even deeper shade of red. "This is a violation. I'll bring it up at the next HOA meeting. You're required to comply with board requests." I stayed calm. "Please show me exactly where in the agreement it says I have to share my private passwords." Karen sputtered for a moment before turning on her heel. "You'll be hearing from us officially." She stomped back to her large SUV where I could see her teenage daughter sitting in the passenger seat, looking bored. The next day, I found a violation notice on my door claiming my patio plants were 2 inches taller than the allowed height. The day after that, another notice about the color of my curtains not matching the approved window covering palette. It was war. I remembered that Karen had been scanning for Wi-Fi networks, which meant she could see the names of networks around our complex. A plan formed in my mind. I opened my router settings and changed my Wi-Fi name from the boring default home_network to NotForKaren911. I also created a guest network and named it HOA_welcome. I knew Karen would see these names the next time she scanned for networks. It was petty revenge, but it felt good. A week later we had our monthly HOA meeting. I usually skip these boring meetings, but this time I made sure to attend. Karen stood at the front of the community center room, going through her usual list of complaints about neighbors not following rules. When she got to internet security concerns, she glared directly at me. Some residents, she said, emphasizing the word while staring me down, have been creating inappropriate Wi-Fi network names that are visible to everyone, including children. Several people looked confused, but a few were hiding smiles. Apparently, I wasn't the only one who had noticed Karen scanning for Wi-Fi. These childish displays show a lack of community spirit, Karen continued. The board will be sending out notices to anyone with inappropriate network names. My neighbor Tom raised his hand. What's considered inappropriate? Is FBI surveillance van inappropriate? Several people laughed. Tom winked at me. Or what about, tell your Wi-Fi love her? Called out Mrs. Jenkins, an older lady who I never expected to make a Wi-Fi joke. Karen's face was getting red again. This isn't funny. Network names should be neutral and not target specific community members. That's when I raised my hand. Just to clarify, is there actually anything in the HOA agreement about Wi-Fi network names? Karen fumbled through her binder. It falls under the General Decorum Clause. Mr. Rodriguez, who I knew was a lawyer, spoke up. Actually, I don't believe the HOA has any jurisdiction over what residents name their private internet networks. That would be a First Amendment issue. Karen looked like she might explode. We'll be reviewing the bylaws and making amendments. The meeting continued, but Karen had lost her momentum. After it ended, several neighbors came up to me laughing about my Wi-Fi name. Tom showed me his phone where he had already renamed his network, Karen Can't Have This One, and Mrs. Jenkins had changed hers to No Free Wi-Fi for HOA. A few days later, I received an official HOA letter asking me to change my network name. At the bottom there was a handwritten note, "Please be reasonable. My daughter needs internet access for school, and our provider is having issues." I felt a slight twinge of guilt, but then remembered all the petty violations Karen had reported me for. I changed my Wi-Fi name to Change Your Provider, and created a new guest network with limited access called Karen Guest Access _2 hours. I wrote down the password and dropped it in Karen's mailbox with a note saying her daughter could use it for homework only 2 hours per day. The next morning Karen knocked on my door again. I expected more anger, but instead she looked defeated. "Thank you for the guest access," she said stiffly. "Our provider says it will be another week before they can fix our connection." I nodded. "You're welcome. Your daughter shouldn't suffer because of our disagreement." Karen hesitated, then added, "I may have been overzealous about some of the violations recently." It wasn't quite an apology, but it was close. "Water under the bridge," I replied. "But maybe we could talk about some of those HOA rules at the next meeting? Some of them seem a bit excessive." Karen nodded slowly. "Perhaps a review wouldn't hurt." We weren't exactly friends after that, but Karen did tear up the violation notice about my patio plants. And I kept the Karen Guest Access network active even after their internet was fixed, just as a reminder of our little Wi-Fi war. Sometimes, the pettiest revenge leads to the most unexpected truces. And every time I see my Wi-Fi network list, I smile at NotForKaren911, my little victory against HOA tyranny.